We were already seated when it happened, which mattered more than it should have. Seats at my mother's table were never random. They were a map of history: who married in, who stayed close, who drifted, who was forgiven, who was tolerated. My son was between me and my husband, his legs swinging under the chair, tapping wood in a way that meant he was bored, but trying to behave. The food was good. It usually was. My mother cooked like someone who wanted proof she still mattered. Compliments landed easily, safely. She accepted them with a nod that suggested they were overdue. The grandchildren were circulating, plates balanced, voices overlapping. My nephew, older, louder, more like her, had just been praised for his grades. Again, she said his name twice, like punctuation. Then she smiled. That particular smile, the one that never reached her eyes. "Some grandkids make you proud," she said, lightly, like she was offering a proverb instead of a judgment. "Others, not so much." She didn't say my son's name. She didn't have to. She glanced at him, brief and precise, the way you point without pointing. He didn't notice, not fully. He was focused on the roll in his hand, tearing it carefully, like it mattered. Something in my chest went tight and hollow at the same time. That old reflex kicked in: stay calm, don't escalate. She didn't technically say anything. I'd spent years translating my mother's tone into something survivable. Years learning how to sand down moments so they wouldn't cut too deep. My husband didn't have that reflex. Or maybe he did, and it just failed him that day. "Proud," he said, his voice sharper than the knives on the table. Of what? Generational pettiness. It wasn't loud. That's what made it worse. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't gesture. He just said it, clean and incredulous, like he was genuinely asking a question no one had ever bothered to answer. The table went still. Forks paused midair. Someone coughed and stopped. One cousin, a nervous one, always eager to diffuse, let out a giggle on instinct, the way people laugh when they think something might be a joke. Then she saw my mother's face and cut it off so fast it was almost painful to watch. Silence settled, thick and awkward and revealing. It wasn't the silence of shock. It was the silence of recognition. Everyone knew what had been said. Everyone knew it wasn't new. My mother didn't look at my husband right away. She looked at me. That was the rule. If conflict involved me, it was mine to manage. Her eyes held a familiar expectation: handle this. Fix it. Don't embarrass me. I felt my son lean into my side, just slightly. He still didn't understand the words, but he understood the temperature. Children always do. I didn't mean anything by it. My mother said eventually, her voice cool, controlled. "People are so sensitive now." There it was. The exit ramp she always used. Intention over impact, humor over harm. My husband opened his mouth again. I felt it before I saw it, the gathering of air, the readiness to continue. I put my hand on his knee under the table, not to stop him entirely, just to slow him down. "I know," I said softly. Too softly, maybe. "Let's just eat." It was the compromise voice, the one I'd perfected, the one that cost me something every time I used it. Dinner resumed, but it wasn't the same meal anymore. Conversations restarted in smaller, safer circles. Praise continued, but quieter, more cautious. My mother avoided looking at my son altogether now, which somehow felt worse. Later, when dessert was served, she made a point of asking my nephew about his upcoming science fair. She didn't ask my son anything. Not about school. Not about the drawing he'd been working on all week. Nothing. I watched my son closely. He laughed when he was supposed to. He ate his cake. He leaned toward his cousin to whisper something silly. On the surface, he was fine. Inside, something had lodged. When we stood to leave, my mother kissed his head a little too quickly. Obligation, not affection. I thanked her for dinner out of habit. She nodded, already turning away. In the car, the silence was different, not brittle processing. "I'm sorry," my husband said after a while. "I didn't plan to say that." "I know," I said. He exhaled. I couldn't sit there. "I know," I said again, and this time it meant something else. At home, after our son was asleep, we talked in the low voices reserved for decisions that might change things. Not ultimatums, not threats, just boundaries finally spoken out loud. We wouldn't correct every comment. We wouldn't demand apologies. But we also wouldn't offer unlimited access anymore. Fewer dinners. Shorter visits. No unsupervised time framed as bonding. It felt small. It felt late. It felt necessary. The consequences came quietly. Invitations arrived less frequently. When they did, they were vague, polite. My mother mentioned how busy she was now, how tired. At the next family gathering we did attend, the table felt different. Not warmer, more cautious. My mother chose her words more carefully. She praised broadly, non-specifically. My son was included, but not singled out. It wasn't reconciliation, it wasn't justice, but it was a shift. One day, months later, My son asked me why Grandma didn't like him as much as his cousin. The question was simple, clean. It deserved honesty without damage. Sometimes adults get stuck. I told him. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. He nodded, accepting it the way children accept things they shouldn't have to. The power didn't flip. My mother didn't apologize. No one declared a winner, but something quiet had changed. The comparisons no longer went unanswered, not always allowed, but never again absorbed alone. And that, I learned, was its own kind of protection.